Hello and welcome back to Boomer 11 Live. And we are just coming into the England versus Senegal game. Just a few minutes to go before kickoff. But before we get into that match, an emphatic victory for France against Poland. We had Priyanka already in our previous preview comment. Predict rather, Poland did get polished after all. A 3-1 defeat. Last minute penalty goal is the only consolation goal that Poland could really keep, and probably the only two moments for Lewandowski as well, who goes away with two goals in four matches. Probably not what Poland expected or wanted from Lewandowski as well. We'll get into this match between France and Poland, and also into the upcoming match that is England versus Senegal as well. Got able to be able welcome to the show and your initial thoughts on the France match.
Yeah, I mean, to give you my initial thoughts, I think it was an absolute domination from the French team because they've had the better of the Polish team. We did discuss earlier on as well how clinical this French team can be if you give them the right opportunities, and they were absolutely clinical, and they showed why. They are carrying a certain bit of reputation into this tournament, and I have to personally say I really enjoyed watching this French team through the course of this tournament. And now, as they proceed on to the quarterfinals, they're getting better with each game they're playing. And yeah, it was rather a predicted result, right? Like we all knew that Poland was never going to really compete against the French team, but still, as we were talking about it, it's a World Cup, it's a round of 16. Anything can possibly happen. And remember, Poland did have their chances. Poland did have a couple of very big chances. If they would have converted any of those, this they would have gotten a lead, but still, I thought the France were extremely clinical. The opportunities they got, uh, they absolutely pinned it in, and that's why you rate this team to be extremely dangerous. Because remember, this team does not have Benzema, but the fact is that Olivier Giroud has been having a phenomenal World Cup. He's gone past Thierry Henry to become the all-time leading French
Yeah.
national goal scorer. That's an impeccable record to be held by a player like Olivier Giroud. I think Olivier Giroud in French national colours is a different gravy altogether. We all have to accept it now.
Yeah, I mean, to be a country's highest ever goal scorer means to be one of their best players ever. And Olivier Giroud has never gotten that recognition, hasn't he? Because you have to give it to. I mean, he's had a very illustrious career at Arsenal as well. And then on, I think things did fall off for him after he left Arsenal. But overall, if you look at his career, any boy who wants to grow up as a professional footballer will look at it with a lot of envy. But let's look at the attacking threat. Let's begin with that. The French team and the Polish team, right? It was obviously France all throughout, and it was never really anything there. Never really anything there for the Polish team because they never looked like they could get going, except for that big spike in the 90th minute. Aside from that, it never really showed like Poland was going to get a goal. On the other hand, France, well, they were just all over Poland as we expected. Poland did play a deep line, trying to sit back and hit France on the counter. That never really worked for them because French pace really outmanured Poland.
Absolutely, and that's something which we did discuss earlier on as well. How the counterattacks of the Polish team needs to be extremely clinical. They have to reach the opposition half through using quick pace, which I thought they were not successful enough. Now, if you look at the attacking play, you can understand that it's been totally France all the way. It's France on the red, and the purple part is of course the Polish team. And if you look through the two halves, it was always France, and only towards the latter half you can understand that Poland did come very close, but ultimately it was once again France who had majority of the attacking plays, especially when you have to start in the first half. They were extremely clinical to pin those balls in. They're trying to cross so many balls into the box to try to get those headers in. And they were successful as well. And to be talking about Holyfield Giroud once again, I thought, just to get that goal just before the halftime, it was very important. That really shifted the momentum. As we keep saying, that's a very crucial phase of a game where if you get a goal just before the halftime, the team which goes into the dressing room, and if it's a team like France, they'll feel a lot better. And that's something which happened even today. And have to give credit to the French team. They knew how to attack the Polish team and how to come up with a strategy, especially against a low block maintained by the Polish team. We all knew, right? Polish team is never going to maintain a highlight or even maintain a mid block because that's not their strength, and that's one of the reasons why Polish team has, even if you look at all the 16 teams who have been into the round of 16, they were possibly the weakest among the 16.
Yeah. And we saw that today as well, right? This team had no answers against a French team that has looked top guns. And let's look at the goal progression, though. And I mean, I think this is a bit surprising for me, Abel, because as I said, right, as we saw in terms of attacking threat, look like Poland. I mean, France were the ones on top, and hence they scored 3 goals as well. But if you look at the XG progression, according to Opta, it shows that Poland did well in terms of I mean, in terms of XG at least, and towards the end, they were the higher one. But then, obviously, as we've spoken time and time again on this live, it's not about really the attacking threat, or the XG. It's always about the goals, and it doesn't matter if your XG is 1 or if your XG is 4, as long as you don't convert that threat, that expectation into a reality. You really never win a football game. That's why football can be cruel. At the same time, why football is followed by so many people.
Yeah, you are absolutely spot on in mentioning that XG often does not tell you a story as to how clinical you are. If you take a lot numbers of shots inside the box and very near to the box, very near to the goal, you will understand that your XG invariably goes up. But then for France, if you look at all their goals, it came out of really good goals. All the goals were pretty good. It was far away from the goal. They took some long shots. I thought one of the goals that should have been given goal was Olivier Giroud's bicycle kick as well. So there were moments where France did not really look extremely potent in front of the goal, but then yet, Poland also got their opportunity. They not converted, as I kept saying. If Poland would have converted a couple of those opportunities they got, they would have been having a much better game than what they had today. I think that this really speaks a story as well. You can understand they took 12 shots. Uh, and that's one of the reasons also why Poland had considerable amount of XT, but the number of shots on target was very minimal. It was just 3 out of the 12. So that's not possibly good enough. If you are playing 12 shots, at least 6, 7 should have been on the target. Maybe
Yeah.
that's possibly the only possible way through which you can have at least one goal in. You have to test the keeper more often than not, and that's something which the Polish team totally lacked in today's game.
Yeah, absolutely. And when just look at the stats right here, you would say that Poland had better XG, but except for the penalty, none of those shots were actually meant to go in, because it just seemed like the XG is low. But again, I mean, you can say the same thing about France as well. But they have two quality strikers. It doesn't matter where they take the shot from. If it's if it connects, it just goes in. And most often than not, two players have just been able to do it. One such player, obviously, we spoke about Olivier Giroud, is Kylian Mbappe, and a player about whom many things are spoken about off the pitch, his attitude and his relations with PSG, the way he had a contract signed this year with PSG, even though people expected him to be going to Real Madrid as a free agent. But when it comes to World Cup, he's already establishing himself as one of the best, because he's got 9 goals, which is equivalent to Ronaldo and Messi in just 10 games. 10 games, 9 goals. That's just incredible stat right there. Tanya Kulkarni says that she freaking loves Mbappe, and I think there is just Mbappe and World Cup are becoming two names very synonymous to each other now.
I mean, if there's any player who could go on to break Klose's record, Miroslav Klose's record, I think that's going to be Kylian Mbappe, and he's not far away. Let's be honest. Klose's record is what, 15 goals, and Mbappe is on 9.
Yeah,
If this team goes
in two
deeper in the
World Cup.
tournament, yeah, if this team goes deeper in the World Cup, he can end up on 12 or maybe 13 goals. Then another World Cup, Mbappe will possibly go past Miroslav Klose's record. And Mbappe is well on course to be the leading goal scorer of this tournament as well. I know I keep saying this thing. In the last World Cup, he was the best young player, and possibly in this World Cup, he's one of the best players in the world. And that's also primarily because he is mature as a player. And last World Cup, to win a World Cup at the age of 18, and now to really come back into the next World Cup as you are the leading man for your team, to carry this team into the next round. I'm not saying that Mbappe is solely carrying this team, but the fact is that you are the main man in your team and you are really doing the job for your team. I think he's been the best player so far in this tournament in terms of the attacking threat. I have a stat here, so you can understand that
Yeah.
goal involvements. This lad has been an absolute top-notch form, and there is no doubting the kind of credentials he has. There's no doubting what he can possibly bring because he carries a certain certain baggage of weight as well. Especially when Mbappe comes into a tournament like this, you can understand the Blues' chances created and the right to the shots. So the most number of attacking sequence involvement, of course, Lionel Messi has had a fantastic tournament so far. And the two PSG men right up there on top, and they've been having really good season. People used to say, it's just a French league, but then you saw it in them. Neymar unfortunately got injured in the first match, but then if Neymar was playing for Brazil, you would have seen something very similar as well. Them three
Yeah.
up front this season in Europe has been electric. There's a reason why PSG are the contenders to win the Champions League because there's a sync between the three. There is a certain amount of form which you have never seen between the three this season, and especially with Messi and Mbappe in this kind of form, I think they are certainly carrying their team to the next level, and that's really helping their team. That's helping other players to feed off as well. For example, someone like Olivier Giroud in this team has been exceptional. I mean, we keep talking about Olivier Giroud, and there is no enough praise which can really quantify the kind of impact which Olivier Giroud has had for this team. And Kylian Mbappe, I'd say, for Kylian Mbappe at the age of 23, he's an exceptional player. Let's keep all the criticism and whatever aside. I personally think he has achieved maybe even Messi and Ronaldo wanted to possibly achieve. That's a World Cup. He's already achieved it. And he's got 9 goals in 10 games. That's an exceptional stat. That's more than Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. And at the age of 23 to do this and to play the way he's doing, it's scary, scary times ahead for other players. And I'm pretty sure once he ends his career, he's going to be on top of the list for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 9 goals, 10 games. It's very difficult, for a player to achieve that because Ronaldo and Messi haven't scored in the knockouts. I mean, I think Messi did recently, but before this World Cup, they hadn't scored in a knockout game. Ronaldo is yet to play his knockout game, yet to get his knockout goal. But Mbappe did score in the finals, so that's again something that you haven't seen Messi or Ronaldo do in the World Cup yet. But this guy is made of a different gravy, and that's what we've seen so far in and out. Just looking at the 9 goals that he scored, some of these shots are really close by. I mean, the XG on them, the amount of times he gets into the box of the opposition team. But even if you look at the stats, just pointed out right about, I think it was about the goal contributions. Notice how many French players are out there. There's Kylian Mbappe, there's Rabiot, there's Griezmann, there is Hernandez, Theo Hernandez. That is so many players just from the French team. The only other team who's got 4 players in there is Germany. Just is, I mean, I think we should heard a lot of what do you say, German fans that their team isn't playing. So, but overall, if you look at it, you have to say that this French team is looking really scary right now because they're gelling together, they're coming together as a unit, which is something that we were afraid. If we did say right, if they are able to gel together as a unit, they look like a very good team. They weren't able to do it in their past few matches, but now they are in this World Cup. And come at the men is how France is playing their football right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, at the start of the tournament, we all did not even expect this French team to go into the quarterfinal of the World Cup. Firstly, there was this hoodoo of, the World Cup curse, right? The team who has
Yeah.
won the World Cup could never progress into the next round. They first broke that. Secondly, for them to really gel together as a unit, that was so important. We all thought this team was really lacking that team spirit for multiple reasons off the field, on the field, and whatever said. This team was definitely not a team during the qualification stage, even during the Euros, even during Nations League. They never felt like a team. They just looked like a disjointed bunch of lads coming to play football. But then come this World Cup, I don't know if it's the adversity which has brought this team together or whatever it is. Didier Deschamps really knew how to manage this bunch of lads together, put them on the park, really make them play for each other. You can say Didier Deschamps does not deploy the most exuberant or the most exciting tactics out there for people to watch. It's not the most eye-catching tactics, but that's working for them. Let's all be very honest. They've got a very solid defensive line. When you have likes like Upamecano, you have Varane, you have Theo Hernandez, Pavard. These lads are absolutely top class, and we have too many up front as well. These lads can be very decisive on their day to give you the result, and that's what's been happening with this French team. Time and time again, this French team is able to pull out results and pull out results in the most convincing manner. Even today's game, you never felt like in any moment this French team is out of control of the game. You always felt that they're going to come and give you a goal. They're going to really take the game on to the opposition, and that's why you love it. You absolutely have to understand that these bunch of lads are playing a certain way in which they are looking to eye at the title. They are here to defend their crown, and possibly the most deserving team to go out there defend the title. I know I think the last time any team has defended the crown, I think it's Brazil. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody has ever defended the crown, defended the World Cup crown ever. So they are in for a task. They are in for the highest glory. So it's never an easy ride there. They're not yet there, but they're almost 60% there. The last 40%, the final stretch is definitely going to be hard.
So,
The winner
even
of today,
if I just, for all of us, for all of you watching, it's two team countries that have done it. It's Italy who's done it 1934, 1938, and Brazil 1950, 1962.
wow, okay.
So those are the two teams. Yeah,
Okay, there have been two teams, and that was way back, what, 60 years ago? Since then,
yeah.
it's never happened. It's always been the toughest thing. Even for France in 98, they won the title in 98, 2002, they were knocked out in the group stage. So it's never been the case. It's all the teams that struggled to defend the crown. Brazil 2000 to 2006 never happened. 2006 Italian team got knocked out. Then the curse kept on going, right? But now finally a team is looking to defend the crown after so long. It's the French national team, and they're well on course. I mean, let's be very honest, man. I mean, this team has got that X factor in them to go all the way because of the depth, because of the kind of team they have, because of the special talents they have. You never know. You never know. I mean, it's still early days, but they possibly can do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, this team is really shaping up to be one of the best teams in this World Cup. And when they do seem like they are intent on breaking that curse. Let's talk about. Let's talk about this question right here from Noah Van Meek and Abel. What do you think makes Mbappe stand apart compared to other players? I think for me, it's really, it's the same thing that you saw with Ronaldo as well. It's just this lad has really a hunger in himself to make himself the best name in the world. And it might bring him, at loggerheads against some of the egos, but he is time and time and again proving that he is an asset to any team, even though, it might not be, it might seem and many times, it's difficult to manage him, but if you put him on the pitch, you give him what he wants, then he will give you back hundredfold.
I mean, yes, he's a player of that category. Let's be very honest. Now, if you talk about this generation, I think Mbappe is going to be right up there when you put players who are the best players in the world in this generation. Or if you talk about the era where Messi and Ronaldo dominated, and of course they did dominate the world in a way which nobody else could. But when we talk about this generation, this lad is right up there to be the top two or top player in the world. And what makes him stand apart? I personally think there's a lot of technical skills this lad has got, which a lot of other players. He's got the ability to run fast. The pace which this guy generates on the pitch, that's something which every striker, every forward dreams of. And his agility is awareness to get in position. The way in which he glides past the defenders, his ball control is outstanding in terms of the way just the way in which he gets into positions at a terrific rate of pace. That's something which makes him into an X factor striker in that. And the way in which and also when he plays as left midfielder, as left winger, right? The way he cuts in. I know Mohamed Salah has got a very similar trait as a right winger. Sadio Mane has got the trait, but this lad has got a trait which is a notch above them. He can cut in and cut into spaces very quickly. He can be extremely potent. He's got the technical ability to dribble past. He's skillful. So he ticks a lot of boxes. I know when it comes to his physicality, he's not there. Maybe of a Haaland level, because that's Haaland. Haaland is different. That's possibly Haaland's strength. But Mbappe has a different strength compared to Haaland. So you have to understand these two players are different. But then Mbappe has got its own strength, which makes him stand apart and which makes him a player which is extraordinary in itself of this generation. And not a lot of players have this. Even in the last generation, not a lot of players have this ability to cut into spaces. I know Robin had that ability, but then this lad with is ambipedal as well in terms of the way in which he uses both the feet, the way in which he can absolutely kill past defenders. His positioning is outstanding. And also his creativity. Let's understand that we all know that Mbappe loves scoring goals, but then also his creative ability to to understand where the player is, to link up with them, to play those 1-2s. It's outstanding, and that's one of the reasons why which makes him a player which is very complete in this generation. And I'm very interested to see his development. Next 4 years, he's going to be possibly going to become the world's best player as well.
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously a start, right? The debate, the next GOAT debate, you would say, of this generation, Haaland versus Mbappe. Mbappe, seriously, I mean, seems to have gotten a head start on the World Cup or the international side of things. Matthias asked, is it youthful exuberance which makes Mbappe really different? Because, I mean, you have to give some of it to the youthful exuberance because he's got that pace. He's got, obviously, that ability, as you mentioned, to run behind defenses using that extreme pace. Probably one of the fastest players right now on the circuit.
Yeah, that is one skill, of course, which he has, and I also feel when it comes to these big moments, he does not tend to fear. I mean, you have seen it in the Champions Leagues as well. I know he's not really won a Champions League for his team, but the fact is that when even in these biggest occasions, he tends to step up, and you can call him a clutch player. Let's all be honest about this. He always rises up into the big occasion. He loves playing those big occasions. He doesn't really tend to take those pressure. I know he missed a penalty against Switzerland in the Euro finals. That's the only time when you saw this guy falter. But other than that, when you talk about all the big occasions and all the big matches, this guy's always stepped up. And that's one trait or a quality which makes him stand apart to perform in big matches. The moment you start performing in big matches, you get recognized for that. And that's something which he's been doing very consistently. And if he continues to do that, he can be his name will be etched in history to be one of the biggest big match players for sure.
Yeah, Sean says that France are cooking hot, and they are. They are on a World Cup run where you would say that now they're shaping up to be one of the better teams in this World Cup. But as we all know, right, things have to go. Things are a long way before we can actually even think of the top three, top four teams because it's not been easy this year, this World Cup, to really understand which team could be the team that will lift the trophy because it's been a World Cup full of surprises, and I'm sure the surprises are not just going to end tonight or today or any of these rounds. I think throughout this World Cup, we'll see a lot of these moments. Let's talk about today's match now. I mean, the next matchup. Oh wait, there's one more question. Let's take that up as well. Do you think Olivier Giroud is underrated? Even I think that's a very valid question because he's someone who's never really gotten credit for what he's done. You would say, or is it like perfectly rated?
I mean, it's a very tough question at this point because I think Olivier Giroud, he's always come into the scanner as a player who's never gotten the recognition. Firstly, because people have expected a lot out of him because you don't expect Olivier Giroud to be a Ronaldo or what or Lewandowski or a Karim Benzema. He's different. He can hold the ball well. He can help your wingers to get into positions. He can really his hold up play is one of the best in the world. I think he comes into a similar profile as a Harry Kane, and his finishing ability is very good. I think Olivier Giroud is a player who fits into a particular system and in his French system. Remember, in the last World Cup, he did not score a single goal. Yet he was very effective in terms of his hold-up play, in terms of him, progressing the ball forward, linking up with Antoine Griezmann. So there have been situations when these kind of things have happened previously, and this World Cup for him to fill Karim Benzema's shoes and the way he has filled it has been outstanding, and nothing short of outstanding for uh, uh, Olivier Giroud. And this game once again proved that how impactful he can be in terms of his link-up play. And also remember, Olivier Giroud really allows Mbappe to cut inside because Olivier Giroud
Yeah.
drops deep, which also allows Antoine Griezmann make those in-behind runs, allows Antoine Griezmann drift slightly wide because centrally Olivier Giroud plays as a CAM more often than not, though he's a prominent striker. And it also allows Dembele to come in and to play free roaming positions as well alongside Antoine Griezmann. So that's something that's a trait which Olivier Giroud definitely brings into the French national team. And today, once again, he had one goal. He generated a decent amount of XG as well, and outstanding. You have to say that Olivier Giroud goes unnoticed, goes becomes one of the most underrated players also because of the fact that this guy this guy really doesn't get the recognition he deserves to get because you compare him with his club records. But for France national team to score 52 goals and to be the most leading goal scorer in the French national team history, there's something definitely different about him. There's something really special about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked really good because not often you replace a Ballon d'Or winner and still end up doing the kind of giving the kind of impact that Olivier Giroud has, and that shows the depth that this French squad had at the start of the World Cup itself, right? Most often than not, I mean, which other team really can say that if they lost their Ballon d'Or winning player, they'll still be able to go as far or look as dangerous and potent as this French national team is looking, but. Now let's move on, Abel. We have obviously the English Lions, the three Lions, take on the Senegalese Lions, and it's another mouth-watering contest, really. Especially Senegal without their star player Sadio Mane, he is missing out. But they've done really well to reach here, haven't they? Because they had some, it was not a smooth one, but then not many teams this World Cup have had a smooth run into the group stage. Matthias is already saying that it's coming home. Abel, is this finally it? Is it really coming home? You would wish it would.
I don't wish it would. But yeah, I quite like this English team. I've been following them since I've been following them since 2016. I think it's primarily because I love watching Vardy and Harry Kane play. I like the previous generation as well, but they never excited me, to be very fair. But I like watching them. If I have to pick one European team who I really enjoy watching, it is English national team. But then they keep disappointing when it comes to them not delivering with the kind of potential there, and that's historically the English team's case, right? They tend to keep disappointing you despite the talent they have, and they tend to not cross the line. But if you look at the last 4 years, they've come very close to getting that silverware. They've come very close to being crowned as the champions. And that last two major tournaments, they were one of the best teams in the tournament for sure. They ended up being on the fourth place in 2018, second place in the Euros 2021, and once again they're on a run. I mean, I'm pretty sure Senegal is going to be definitely a big challenge. A very interesting lineup once again. They're going to the 4-3-3 with Phil Foden starting, which is quite interesting, and Henderson is back in the team to play as a number 8 alongside Jude Bellingham, who possibly will play a number 10 role today. So very interesting lineup, very impressive lineup as well. I'm very pleased with this lineup because this lineup gives a certain amount of stability. This lineup gives a lot of pace and a lot of creativity as well, with Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden on the wings and Harry Kane through the middle. I'm pretty happy that this is finally the lineup which I like to see, and Kyle Walker is back fit again. So the team which I think has the potential to go a long way in this tournament, and especially the next challenge. If they win today, the next is going to be their biggest challenge, which is to come against a very strong French national team. But yeah, it's only if they win today, right? They're coming up against a Senegalese team who deserves a lot of credit. Under Aliou Cisse, this lad has transformed this Senegalese team into a team who are up there to compete against the best of teams. You saw that in the first game against Netherlands. They were extremely unlucky not to get the result there. But since then, they've not looked behind. They've gotten results whenever they demanded, especially, players like Dia, Ismail Sarr, Diata. I don't know, Koulibaly has been outstanding this tournament. As a leader, as a defender, he's put in the shift. He's really been a rock solid defensive player in this tournament. And also, I have to say Sabali as well. Sabali has been getting into some extremely good attacking positions through the course of the tournament. But I'm excited to see how far the Senegalese team go. And tonight is going to be an exciting match to watch because Senegalese team has got this in them that they don't give up, and they will come at you no matter how big a team you are. They're gonna come at you because they believe that they can get over the line against the best teams.
I mean, that's a very well put. I mean, that's very well put right here. But one person who really interests me here is Harry Kane. Abel, he's someone who came to this World Cup as a player that England really backed on. Their number nine, a player who's done well for England over the years. Their captain as well. How has his performance been so far? Does he really have to step it up, or do you reckon he's been doing just okay for himself?
Yeah, I mean he's been doing okay for himself, and that's something which I'll just put it right there. Uh, See, it's tough to really, if you want to even go among stats and say that okay, he's not had the best of tournaments, but the fact is that
I mean, also
if you look
this
at
Marcus Rashford, who's been coming off the bench, has had a great game last time around, and he's done well off the bench as well.
yeah, I mean, it's a tough debate because Similar thing as Olivier Giroud, because these people don't really get into the stats, and especially because of Harry Kane's reputation, what he carries for this team, and he's one of the best players, right? His hold up play, the way in which he allows players to get into position, the way he penetrates the defense through centrally. These are traits which maybe Marcus Rashford cannot have. Marcus Rashford centrally to make those in behind runs, to break in counters with pace, is fantastic. And the kind of form Marcus Rashford has been in. Remember, he scored a free kick last match, right? He's that just it's never easy to score free kicks, and for him to score free kicks and to get into positions, to break defenders with pace, it's outstanding trait to him. That's something which I think England would like to have off the bench, because towards the latter half of the game, after 60 minutes, you need that quick legs, you need that exuberance of Marcus Rashford, maybe players like Jack Welch who come in and change the course of the game, Callum Wilson. So these lads can come off the bench and change the game, and that's something which England would want to have off the bench rather than start, because with Harry Kane, you get a lot more assurance and stability, right? He's also a leader. Absolutely, he's a very good leader. He understands the game a lot more. His game awareness, the way in which he thinks about the game, the way in which he understands every move he can predict, is extremely good in terms of dropping in. But at the same time, I'd like to say Harry can also get into right positions, get into the attacking positions inside the box, because you know how clinical he can be inside the box.
Yeah. And I mean, he is still done a good job, as you mentioned, right? I mean, he hasn't really, in terms of goals, he's not done that what England would have really wanted. But it's not like England's been poorer from it, right? England has gotten people to score goals. But another player again, is Phil Foden, someone who did not start initially, and there was a lot of conversation of why he is not starting. But when he finally did, he started to prove he's already proven why he deserves to be in this playing 11, in the first 11, and he doesn't just he's not just another substitution off the bench, because he's one of the best, and he's turning out to be one of the best. Another player you would really put in that category along with Cody Gakpo, or some of the other players, Pedri, Gavi, that we spoke about, young players who really have the capacity to turn it up in the World Cup stage. And he's done a good job. He's now, obviously found himself in, Gareth Southgate's first playing 11. Jack Grealish is, I think, is the one who's not, he's been the one who's been benched. And who else? I think there was one more player whom they
I know
tried,
it's
but instead
Mason
of him.
Mount who's benched,
It was
and it's
Mason Mount, rather. Correct. It was Mason Mount. And so Mason Mount is a player who's not now in this team. It's Phil Foden who's starting it off. So you are someone who's following. You obviously follow him throughout as a Man City fan as well. He's been key to their success, and he's really made himself a spot in that Pep Guardiola team. It's not easy as a young player to make a name for yourself in a Pep Guardiola team, especially a team like Man City, which is star-studded. Now this lad is doing it equally in the English colors, isn't it?
Jen, I'll take you back to 2017 when I saw this guy play live in India during the Under 17
Oh
World Cup.
yeah.
There were two players who I saw live, and I knew they had great potential. The one was Phil Foden. He was the MVP of the tournament, and one was Jadon Sancho. Both were from City, so I had this special eye for them both. I was just looking out for how great they can be, and there was definitely Ryan Brewster and Callum Hudson-Odoi. These lads were definitely there, but these two lads stood out because they had extremely good skills at the age of 16, which made them stand apart when you compare them with other players. So that's what really makes Phil Foden very special. Even at a very young age, to see him play from there on, I've been following him since then. He's an outstanding player, man. He understands the situation. He's one of the he fits into a profile of a free roaming midfielder, a free roaming winger who can get into spaces. He can be extremely attacking. The way in which he drifts into spaces, the way in which he can create chances. You give him the license, and he can be one of the most. He can be the game changing player. We've seen that in Manchester City time and time again, where he gets into the right positions. The way in which he creates play with Haaland or with De Bruyne, the way in which he links up with Bernardo. He's a very special player, to be very honest. And I was very shocked, and I was very disappointed that he was not starting in Euros. He did not get start even during the start of the World Cup. It did not give me any sense why he shouldn't be starting in this team. He should be starting in any team in the world. I think he's one of the best players out there in the world. We'll talk about top 10 players in Europe. I think he fits into top 10 players in Europe just because of what he can bring. And also, he performs in big occasions. Let's be honest. When it comes to some of the biggest matches in Premier League, he often delivers. And against big six teams, he's always delivered. In Champions League knockouts, he's always delivered. he's a big match player. He's a player with the right mentality as well. He's a player who understands the game a lot, and he's just 22, 23. And at this age, for him to understand the game and to actually deliver in the way he's doing, I think he's a very special player. But having said that, Mason Mount on the other end, he's a special player as well. But at the same time, he's been extremely erratic. There were times where he felt in the season that he's not really there. There were times where you feel, okay, wow, this guy can really play. But then that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't really have him in my starting lineup. And he was not doing enough, especially in this World Cup, to create chances or to break the lines, or to put a ball in right there for Harry Kane or for Bukayo Saka to make the runs. That's why I think someone like a Phil Foden, if you make him play centrally slightly, he's going to be extremely useful for this English team. But I think he's going to stay wide. And I'm also surprised that this World Cup is not gone with Sterling. Sterling has been Gareth Southgate's go-to man. I'm happy for the fact that he's not gone to Sterling, because Sterling has looked extremely underconfident in the ball. I know Sterling for England is a different gravy, as we talk about Harry Maguire, but then you should be starting Phil Foden any day of the week, because he's dynamic. He brings in aspects which a lot of English players won't bring in. And that's one of the reasons why I like to see Bukayo Saka and Foden start. Form, nothing beats confidence, and these two players are extremely special in terms of doing that. And that makes England, and alongside Jude Bellingham behind with Declan Rice, it's a very good side.
Yeah, man, this is a very good side after all, because this is an England team which is once again, giving those English fans a lot of hope when it comes to the World Cup. And maybe there are a lot of English fans out there who are in the stadium today and elsewhere who agree with Matthias that and hope with that as Matthias says, it is going to come home. But let's switch sides. Let's go to the African nation of Senegal, where as Shivani says, these African nations tend to believe and their passion is what drives them. Yes, I think I'll agree with her full 100%, because she's right here in the fact that this Senegalese team, they've made it through based on their passion. They've seen, wanted to get through to the next round. They have wanted to win every minute of the game, and that's what they've been doing. We'll start with one player in particular. It's Koulibaly. He even contributed with the goal. Is a goal in the last match. He's been an excellent player for them, and someone who's also taken up a leadership position in this team, and really led this team, you would say, the next round.
Yeah, I will say that definitely, because for Koulibaly, as I mentioned earlier as well, for him, he's put that effort as a leader, right? You could see it in every move of his, in terms of his defensive actions, in terms of him leading the line, leading the back line for sure. He's been outstanding, and for him to be leading the Senegalese team without a Sadio Mane has been outstanding. But also his defensive coverage in this entire tournament has been outstanding. He's one of the very few defenders in this World Cup who's looked very assured, who's looked extremely compact, and who's looked extremely threatening as well. For any striker, when you're up against Koulibaly, you know that you have a huge mountain ahead of you, and not just physically and also technically as well. He's extremely good. He's a very good ball playing centre back as well. Let's not forget that. So he fills in a lot of criteria. He fills in a lot. He also ticks in a lot of boxes which a lot of other strikers don't. So hence I rate Koulibaly very highly, and in this World Cup especially, you have to understand that Koulibaly looked, at times I thought coming into this World Cup, I thought Koulibaly was slightly underconfident. I was extremely skeptical about how he's going to go about it, because you saw it in Chelsea colours. He's had some of the most awful games there, but then for the Senegalese team, he's really stepped up. He's understood the weightage of his performance with this team, and I think him in the backline gives that team a lot more assurance. The moment this team takes a lead, they believe that they can see the game off, and that's something which happened in the last game when they played Ecuador as well. Ecuador was a very good side. Let's mind you, I mean, they were a very good side. For them to get a result against the Ecuador team, who were really riding on a high this entire tournament, that was outstanding, and that's something which you saw of the Senegalese team. Except that first game against Netherlands, even there, I keep saying, they could have absolutely finished off that game and gotten a result. Except that game, to bar off that game, Senegal has looked extremely impressive throughout different phases of the game. And there's also because of their backline really stepping up in crucial moments, and them able to dominate the midfield to a certain extent, and them able to really counter, get into right positions, them being more braver in terms of them wanting the ball a lot more. These are very good traits to have for a team, and especially in counters, I feel this team is good because they have Ismail Sarr, who's quick. They have Dia, who's decently quick. NDA, who's quick. So these players are good. These players have the ability to change the match on its head, but it's about them stepping up against a quality English side now.
True. Let's talk about another. I mean, let's talk about another player that the Senegal really expected to be one of the better players for them. Edouard Mendy. He's been a great goalkeeper for Chelsea in the Champions League winning run, but it's not been really going well for him ever since that season, isn't it? He's had some fumbles, made some rookie errors as well. Now it's really time for him to clean up his act between the sticks, right?
Yeah, I would say so. And you saw in the first game, I still think they lost the first game because of Edouard Mendy's poor goalkeeping skills. He let Gakpo score that, and he let Klassen score that. So, um, but it is what it is, right? He got off to the worst possible start. I still think he's extremely vulnerable when you try to press him, and I hope players like Foden and Saka tries to press him a lot more and take shots. Try to take as many shots as possible, test him a lot more as well. That's why he's going to be vulnerable. But having said that, when it comes to shot stopping skills, he's got the ability, he's got reflexes, which very few keepers even in Europe has got it. And in this entirety of the World Cup, if you have to put top five keepers, he'll be there in the top five keepers. And he's got the ability to step up in big occasions. You've seen that in the Champions League knockouts that he stepped up into these big occasions. You've seen that in the World Cup qualifiers. You've seen that in the finals of the AFCON as well. He always tends to step up in these big occasions. So I totally back this guy in a knockout game against a quality team like England. He will step up, and if he steps up, I think that's going to be a huge boost for the Senegalese team.
True. I mean, I think let's talk about what Shruti Sriram says that she liked England during the David Beckham days. What do you have to say to that, Abel?
I mean, there were a lot of fans, to be honest, during that era of 2098 to 2007, 8. Where there was the most flamboyant English team. You had what? You had Beckham, you had Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, Rio Ferdinand. Wow, that was a crazy team, to be very honest. But they never crossed the line, though they had that much amount of talent. They had Wayne Rooney. I mean, Campbell. But I always felt, at times the English team never had luck, especially when it comes to golden generations. But the best thing about the English team is that because of the Premier League and because of the talent, every generation is a golden generation for English team. It's about them trying to capitalize, trying to play as a team, and I think this is one of the very few teams I've seen in English generation who plays a team who has got each other's back. Because in the previous generations, you always felt that there's an animosity in the team. There was always this cold. There was this cold nature among the players where they never got along with each other because of the club rivalry, which is and which was extremely strong back then. And that's where I give credit to Gareth Southgate for nullifying all these rivalries, which can be left behind once you're on the English colours. You have to focus on the three lions, and that's really worked wonders for them so far. And I think it's about them trying to cross the line once they get one silverware, then I think nobody will ever stop them.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about Nabil's question? Do you reckon Senegal has what it takes to upset England? Because, I mean, we've seen this World Cup, right? We've already seen how big teams can falter at the wrong moments sometimes and to their detriment. And this England team, obviously, you would say on paper, or if you're a betting man, you would put your money on England. But it's not like Senegal it's beyond Senegal's reach completely, right? Even though it's an uphill task to really upset this English team.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would say yes and no. Firstly, any team can upset anybody in this World Cup, as I keep saying. It is not an impossible task. I don't know why people keep saying it as upsets. This is the most balanced World Cup. You see Cameroon defeating Brazil, South Korea defeating Portugal. These are results which are against the run of play, if I can use that term. But the fact is that even if you look in this World Cup, right, the Senegal team, it's a quality team. They gave Netherlands a tough competition. They absolutely dominated over the next two teams. This is Senegal's possibly the biggest test. Having said that, I think Senegal can upset England if England gets confused or Gareth Southgate deploys a tactic which is extremely confusing. There can be a situation where England takes a lead and then they can be extremely confused of what they should be doing, whether they should sit back or whether they should attack. And that's what makes this English team very vulnerable. You saw that twice in two important matches. One was the World Cup semi-final 2018, where they took the lead in the third minute and they were extremely confused as to what to do. One was the Euro finals, where they took the minute lead again in the third minute, and they didn't know what to exactly do. So in big matches, they tend to go out to be very, very confused. That's one of the biggest backfall of this, biggest downfall of this team rather. When you say about the English team, I think there should be real clarity. If they've taken the lead, no matter what, they should keep on playing, just keep on piling up the pressure, and that really helps this English team. That really suits the kind of players they have as well. All are very good ball playing players. I don't think there's not even a single player who's weak in the ball. Maybe you can say Harry Maguire and John Pickford are the only two players who I think are slightly vulnerable on the ball. But even then, the rest of the players are extremely good on the ball. They are extremely confident on the ball, and that will make this team to really press high and to really take any opposition on rather. And with Harry Maguire, the kind of formation, I think it's going to be good for this team to maintain a high line, to press the Senegalese team, to impose on them, which I think they have the ability. But if they tend to be confused, then the Senegalese team will be on them, and the result can go the Senegalese way.
Fair enough, Abel. So the last word before we get into the fantasy level of things. Abel, do you reckon? I mean, what's going to be the scoreline? Do you reckon between England and Senegal?
It's tough. Mm, if I have to give a
I know.
scoreline as such, uh, I would go for a 2-1 victory for whichever team it is. It's going to be 2-1, or maybe there's a chance of a penalty shootouts. I don't know what is the possibility of that, but there is a chance of penalty shootouts if the deadlock is unable to be broken. I think it'll go to penalties, or it'll go to penalties in a 1-1 scoreline as well. And I push that England will come on top.
Yeah, I mean, what about the fantasy 11, Abel? What are the players you reckon the fantasy players on Boomer 11 app should try and put in their team so that they can get ahead of the others in their competition?
I mean, I think one player you should definitely have in your team is Jude Bellingham, because the kind of form he's been in this World Cup, the kind of way he's played, the way he's created chances, he's also been in good scoring form as well through the course of the season. So keep him in your team. He can be a decisive factor, and Marcus Rashford off the bench. Keep him in your team because he is extremely clinical. He's been in good scoring form lately. He's not a starter, but then you can keep him in your team because he can come off the bench and change the course of things. So football is a 90-minute game where you can use five substitutes. So remember that, and choose a team which can actually choose players who can come and change off the bench as well. So going with a game, going with Cisse and Sabali is a very good. Has had a great tournament so far. Koulibaly and Maguire at the back with Pickford as your keeper, Ismail Sarr, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, and Rashford. Or you can also go with the Phil Foden instead of a Rashford if you really want to be a little more different, and also bring in Declan Rice instead of a Cisse. So these are options. What do you have? And it's up to you. I mean, trust your instincts. Trust the players who you think can really make an impact in big games, big knockout games. I think Harry Kane is going to be a big factor for this team to succeed, go ahead, big into the tournament. Because if Harry Kane starts getting on the score sheet more often, then this team becomes even more threatening up front.
All right. Thank you, Abel, for joining us. And remember to download the Boomer 11 app on Apple App Store and Google Play. We have some exciting prizes going on right now. About 50 to 100 daily winners on our app now, and the Sharaf BG Predictor, where we have four electronics available for you to grab. All you have to do is predict, amongst many things, the score line, and you can also win a lot more questions in that predictor feature of ours. And on the African or Eastern predictor, you have top 10 winners for every match who can win 5 iPhone 14 Pro Max. That is an incredible gift in itself. 20th December is when the winner will be declared. And also, you can grab any of the 45 G-Shock watches that are available up for grabs. But thank you guys for joining us on this live. Thank you, Abel. And we hope another exciting match in this World Cup. And the action continues because we're just seconds away from kickoff. Thank you guys for
Yes,
joining
guys,
us.
have a good time. Enjoy the match, and let's see who's going to come out on top. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk about the game and a lot more. Have a safe night, and Enjoy the game. Bye bye.
Good night, guys.